Well, hello and welcome once again to Irish Trad Fiddling 101. I'm Tom Morley, fiddle teacher, violinist, educator, and the author of the book Learn to Play Irish Trad Fiddle. I travel around the country teaching Irish fiddling at all levels to folks at workshops, camps, and right here in my own hometown. And I love teaching new tunes every time I can. Today we're going to learn the tune that I just played for you. It's called the Blackthorn Stick. And it's a jig in the key of G, one of the top 10, top 20 tunes that every Irish fiddle player knows. I like to try and find beginning tunes that are simple. This one is not as simple as some, mainly because it really travels up and down the D, A, and E strings right away. And unlike a lot of Irish fiddle tunes, it starts high with high notes right away and kind of tumbles down your instrument instead of kind of staying on the D and A string first. So you'll have to really pay attention and listen hard. As always, with these lessons, these video lessons that I give, we've got the fiddle cam going, which is a second camera that kind of looks right over my shoulder with a fiddler's eye view. And so you get to see my fingers just the way you would see your own fingers. It's one of the most important things, I think, that help make these video lessons more fun and more educational. A time-honored way, of course, for learning a tune if you don't read music or you're just trying to learn it in a session or from another fiddler, is to listen and watch and learn, of course. You listen to the melody, you try and mimic it, and you also sometimes watch the fiddler's fingers. In my experience, I found out that watching the fiddler's fingers can actually be kind of deceiving and not always helpful. If the tune is going fast, of course your fingers are moving quickly. Also on the violin, if it's an open string, it's not always easy to tell that the fiddler just didn't have any fingers down, and then which string is that? Also, as a fiddler goes to put down his first, second, or third finger or pinky, you've got to watch, and it could be going on any of, well, you've got 4 possibilities of the strings. So it can be a little frustrating sometimes to watch a fiddle player's fingers and try and learn. Also, if you're sitting across from a fiddle player and you're watching him, you realize that you're watching a violin kind of backwards and upside down. So that's also confusing. Sometimes in a private lesson, I'll literally twist around and show the student who's sitting next to me on my left. I'll try and have him look over my left shoulder and watch the fingering. So there's good and bad in all of that. My good friend Andra, the Irish flute player, she can watch a flute player and almost instantly learn a tune because those fingers are dedicated. They go up, they go down. They're only going to play one note as they do it, and there is no options. Fiddle players, we have too many options, I think, with the 4 strings and 3 fingers. So that's just a warning. All right, let's get down to business here and learn the Blackthorn Stick. A great name for a tune. I just came back from Ireland where you see lots of blackthorn bushes all over the place, and I'm sure folks have made walking sticks for centuries out of those blackthorn bushes, the limbs and twigs. All right, let's see what happens in that first section. All right, there's the first 4 measures, and it seems like an awful lot of notes tumbling down and up, and I agree that is true. But once you learn these 4 measures, rest assured you have actually learned 3/4 of the tune. As we come to the second 4 measures of the tune, there's only one new note in that phrase. The phrase is pretty much borrowed and used again, so we'll discover that. By the time we get to the B part of the tune, the last 4 measures have been borrowed from the first section again. So once we get these 4 measures, you're well on your way to learn the entire tune. So it starts with a D, 3 fingers on your A string, and jumps right to the G note right here on the E string. So it's a tune that starts really, really high for a change. So that's dancing all around on the E string. 1, 2, 1, 2, open 2. Let's do that again. One last time. So it's an E string melody. That doesn't usually happen in an Irish fiddle tune as the very first thing. But there's measure number 1. Once you get that, you're well on your way, as I said. Now here comes the most important measure that you can learn. Measure number 2, we'll be using this many times throughout the tune, and it goes like this. So that's dancing around, and it doesn't go straight up or straight down. None of this melody really does. So that doesn't help you with the ear training, but it's important to hear the notes when they maybe have jumps in between. 3, 1, 3, open A, 3, 1. So practice that measure a bunch. That little melody has no second finger note in it. There's not a second finger note on the A or the D string for that. So sometimes I've found with students in classes that if you realize what finger you don't use, that will help you to work up that little phrase with the fingers you do use. So here's the first 2 measures again. And you land on open D. Do those 2 measures. G, G, G. Okay, let's put those 4 measures together. This is the first 4 measures of the A section, and like I said, if you can play these, you almost know 3/4 of the tune. 1, 2, 3, go. The second 4 measures is almost the same melody. Let's see if you can tell what note is different. So it's basically the same melody. The first time you go, second time you go, so you go up to the 3rd finger instead of open E. So let's listen to the entire A section of the tune, and I think you'll start hearing all those elements come together in that melody. 1, 2, 3, go. Again. So you see what happens? It's a quite repetitive tune. It's a busy tune and starts high on your instrument and kind of tumbles down as it fills out the melody. But ultimately, it's not that hard of a tune. Let's learn the second part now. There's 4 new measures that start the B section of the tune. And then guess what? We'll revisit the other 4 measures from the A section that you've already heard and learned. But the B section starts with a really fun melody that goes like this. So I love those kind of melodies. I like to think that somewhere back in history, nobody knows who wrote this tune, by the way. It's just a great old trad tune. It's been around forever. But I like to think a fiddle player came up with that little lick. So because you've got E, D, D, G, D. So with that melody, you're kind of counting with your bow and counting with your fingers and counting with the string changes. So I think that's a lot of fun. So let's learn that little section right there. So you start on 3, just like the other section. Open E, then 2 Ds, then a G, then 2 Ds, then open E, then 2 Ds, and then G. And then you play the first section one more time. Open E, D. So there's just a little capper there, a measure and a half capper. 2, 1, 2, open. So let's listen to all 4 of those measures. A lot of fun to play. So I always like to talk to my students about the way that I keep my fingers close and work across the strings as closely as I can with as little effort and work as possible. And you'll see one of my favorite tricks on that little phrase is to leave my 3rd finger down and just get it out of the way of my open E string. You see, I've got my 3rd finger stuck down. You may be able to do that. If your finger can stay out of the way of the open E, then I suggest you try that. Otherwise, you wind up doing something like this. And you use more finger action than you really need to. So pay attention with the fiddle cam to my very, very succinct fingering, and you can do that too. So I'm going to play the whole B section. What's going to happen, you'll hear the da 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 da, very Irishy sounding melody. And then I will finish it up with the same 4 measures to finish up the A section. You'll hear that happen as well. So here we go. Ready, go. So there's the whole tune. I'm going to put it all together for you now. I'm going to play it once slowly and then once a little faster. Maybe not exactly session tempo, but you'll be able to hear the entire tune at a better tempo. Watch my bowing. We didn't talk about bowing in this video lesson today, but in jigs I often like to connect 3 notes and then keep 3 separate. So you kind of do combinations of those slurs and separate notes, and that really sets you up well. Here we go, the Blackthorn Stick. 1, 2, 3, go. So there we go, a great jig in the key of G. Feel free to contact me anytime at thefiddlecenter@gmail.com. Visit my website, irishtradfiddle.com, where you can check out my books, learn to play Irish trad fiddle, and my tune collection for beginners called Fiddle Club Favorites. Contact me anytime. I love to help everybody out there learn to play Irish fiddle, and look forward to teaching a new tune next time we get together. Thanks.